sports at a time when football gets going. So maybe be a little bit more concise with these videos. And that being said, before we get into the actual NBA discussion for the day, quick shout out over to Overlay Fantasy Sports. Love seeing you guys in a bunch of these contests. They continue to provide quality contests for now both baseball and NBA. If you are looking to try to get rich, the NBA contest that starts tomorrow afternoon, the $22 progressive one, has got a jackpot of over $18,000. You get that by going to perfect 12-0. Is it going to be easy? No, of course it's not. You know, they're not going to give you an $18,000 jackpot for something that's easy, but it's definitely doable. It's definitely something that can happen, and that is a big jackpot and a lot of money. Go get your money in there, guys, and play. It starts tomorrow, just a little over 24 hours from now.
Yeah, really can't beat it. One of the better contests in the industry. Man, I was trying to explain to Samantha, my wife, about NBA starting again today. And, like, she just, like, did not get it. I mean, she obviously understands they're playing basketball, but it is pretty wild that, like, after a couple-month hiatus, all of a sudden the NBA is, like, picking up close to August. If you think about it, if you're not a sports fan and you haven't been following it, like, at all, it's bizarre.
It's unprecedented, to say the very least, guys. So go grab yourselves a membership today, guys. Do yourselves a favor. Monthly, lifetime, and annual customers all get both sports that are active at this time. Welcome back to the NBA. If you're just interested in today, day passes are up for $5. You'll get both sports. This is probably the first slate in NBA where I feel more up for other people's takes than anything. I'm sure a lot of us are feeling very similar in the fact that we don't 100% know how many minutes these guys are going to play or how coaches are going to treat these games. We'll all watch together and see what happens, right? We're all on an equal playing field. I'm having trouble talking today, probably because I stayed up late last night watching baseball. Speaking of baseball, come get some of this Bellman MLB fire. Congrats to Ricky Lopez. And I want to thank you personally, Matt, for putting me on the Yankees stack with Brandon Woodruff. I know we had a few people place very high in GPPs, got myself a little win last night. I liked Woodruff and I liked the Yankees, but you definitely encouraged me to go that route, and it worked out well for a bunch of us.
Yeah, Woodruff was boss-like, man. You kind of had talked to me. I didn't love him that first start in Chicago, but you kind of had hyped me up on him. So I was waiting for this next start. He was dominant, man. Really nice shutdown effort from him.
Yeah, and that's just that goes to show you how pitching works, right? Like, if you go back to that first Cubs-Brewers game, Kyle Hendricks was amazing. Well, he got lit up last night. I'm willing to bet I didn't watch that game, but his location probably just wasn't there the way it was against Milwaukee. Meanwhile, Woodruff wasn't terrible against the Cubs, but he was just a little off on his location. I'm willing to bet last night, not so much. I bet you he was just pinpoint on everything.
You just look at it to the point you just made. You look at it specifically one game. Garrett Cole last night. He was dominant after a kind of a shaky first inning where he was getting his feet under him. He was dominant. He was in one of the better grooves I've seen him in. I thought they were going to take him out going into the seventh, but they left him in. And just the slight, off on location caused Baltimore to get like 4 straight extra base hits with 2 outs off Garrett Cole. And this is the Orioles lineup, so it's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, guys. All right, man. Don't forget, go grab those memberships to get both sports. Day passes will get both sports. Subscribe to the station if you're new to it, guys. Covering 2 sports right now. We keep telling you. So thumbs up is appreciated. Let's talk about some of the guys out there right now. And we only got the 2 games tonight. We got the Clippers taking on the Lakers. And I think a difficult part about this one and most of what we're going to look at the next couple of days is just knowing, like, how aggressive coaches want to be. Like, if you got this wrapped up, like, do you really want to get your guys back into shape? Because that's kind of a big deal. Or do you want to not risk injury? That's kind of a big deal too. It reminds me of almost like week 17 of the NFL.
Yeah, it's bizarre, man. They're really, like you mentioned earlier in the video, it's unprecedented. So we have nothing to go off of.
All right. So one of the first guys that stuck out to me is going to be Reggie Jackson of the Los Angeles Clippers. And this is all about, I think everybody knows at this point that Lou Williams couldn't keep himself away from some hot wings and some boobies, to say the very least. So he's gone. Potentially no Patrick Beverley, no Montrezl Harrell. So this is really going to open up the second unit. And I think Reggie Jackson's going to be one of the main benefactors of this one. So I think it's going to be a little bit more of his show back there, where usually it's a little bit more Lou and Montrez, but those guys aren't around right now. So at 4,600, I think you got to give this guy a run. And he's a pretty good basketball player too. So it's time to get him acclimated.
So it's interesting now with these bench guys hurt, suspended, out for the Clippers. Both these teams are so all about their two big guys in George and Kawhi, and then AD and LeBron. The Clippers are definitely going to need someone to step up. I think they're going to need someone to take on a little bit more of a scoring load. Jackson can do it all. He's very affordable at 4,600. It's weird, like looking at basketball prices, because I'm not even exactly sure what cheap is because it's been so long, but he's cheap enough at 4,600.
Yeah, right now you're probably thinking 4,600. You're like, all right, he's a good outfielder.
That's exactly what I thought, like to a T.
All right, man. So we'll move along from there. Interesting second unit with the Clippers right now, and we'll get into some of the other guys when we get on the members only. All right, so you and I talked this one over briefly yesterday. The one guy that I do feel pretty comfortable with is going to be LeBron James. On this slate specifically, we have a lot of really cheap guys at your disposal. So paying up for a stud is not going to be a difficult thing to do. I look at LeBron as a guy who's, I'm sure he kept himself in shape. We've seen enough things in the media about him to know that he's in relatively good shape. There are other types of players you can see who would get a little bit out of shape in a situation like this. That ain't LeBron, right, man? There's a reason that he's still in tip-top athletic condition at the age of 57 or however old this dude is at this point. I trust him to play slightly bigger minutes because LeBron always plays slightly bigger minutes. And I think this game means a lot. I don't sit around and try to take too much out of narratives, but from everything I'm listening to, LeBron and the Lakers look like they're ready to roll, and the Clippers look like they're in a little bit of disarray. So, again, we got a couple games to straighten that out. I don't think it means the Clippers are getting swept or LeBron is going to run through the playoffs or anything like that, but I feel very comfortable paying bigger money with him today.
Yeah, it makes sense, man. You never need to twist my arm to get on LeBron. I expect him to have a very LeBron-like day today. First game after, quarantine, a lot of the social movement going on. This is LeBron James' world, and we're all just living in it, right?
Yeah, he's going to go out there, like you said. He's just going to be LeBron today. I have more worry with some of the other big money players easing into things, whereas this dude we know what kind of work this guy puts into his athletic condition. Like, I guarantee he's as basketball ready as not only anybody going right now, but as anybody at his age could possibly be.
Yeah, you're not, in question to be the greatest player of all time and not, have yourself in basketball shape and ready to play at all times. So I'm with you 100%.
Now, did he drop weight Jokic style? No, but dude really didn't have any weight to drop.
Yeah. Exactly. That wouldn't be a good thing for him.
When you're in your mid-30s, you got 12-pack abs. There's really no more weight to lose.
Right.
All right, so the Utah Jazz are a little bit of an interesting team today because a little bit under the radar, Bogdanovich is out, which opens up a lot of extra minutes on the wing. So I think the most obvious thing is you're going to need Jingly Joe Ingles to go fill in over on the wing a little bit. I know Ingles is a little bit of a Swiss Army knife for this team, runs the point a little bit, point forward, point guard, whatever you want to call him. He's going to need to do some filling in over there right now with Bogdanovich not playing. Also, Jordan Clarkson can come out there and play the wing a little bit. He's dirt cheap at only 4,200. We know that Clarkson, especially if the first unit's struggling, and I think you're going to see a lot of offenses struggling the first couple days out there. The guys haven't done this for anything that's really been relevant in quite some time. Clarkson is a professional scorer. He was playing really well, pre-COVID. I expect him to go out there and get solid minutes because Bogdanovich is playing over 30 minutes a game, and those are going to get spread out, between the Royce O'Neals, the Ingles, the Mike Conleys, and the Jordan Clarkson of the world. It's not just one guy stepping in to fill in. They're going to keep playing their best players, and I expect Clarkson to have a nice, solid fill-in role right here.
Both these guys do it in different ways, meaning Clarkson and Bogdanovich, but at the end of the day, they're both on NBA rosters because of one thing, the ability to score the ball. So I think that Utah is going to need to replace some of Bogdanovich's scoring. And Clarkson is a great that's the word I'm looking for. A great guess as to who's going of which guy it's going to be. It's hard not to like him here, especially at this cheap $4,200 price tag.
Yeah, it's a big part of the $4,200 price tag. So correct me if I'm wrong. Bogdanovich and Clarkson are not in the NBA for their top tier rebounding?
I don't think so. Not maybe for their defense, but
defense and rebounding. You think Clarkson and Bogdanovich, not shooting, defense and rebounding.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, speaking about rebounding, let's go to one of his teammates, the Stifle Tower, Rudy Gobert. There are, again, a lot of cheap options out there. We'll rerun through all these guys on the members-only video. It is very easy to swing this price for Rudy Gobert today. Honestly, like, again, I'm not a big narrative guy. You've heard Matt and I go back and forth on these things, but coronavirus and the NBA shutting down is 100% Rudy Gobert's fault. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, he took a brunt of the bad look. Clearly, this is not all his fault, but he will come out today, to my best estimation, having put the Utah Jazz at risk with something to prove, and I like that for him today. But more importantly, we talked about this yesterday.
Yeah.
Shots are not going to be falling at their normal rate these first couple. I mean, I guess it's not impossible, but it's unlikely. These guys aren't 100% in. Their legs aren't in basketball shape. As the game goes on, you're going to see more and more missed shots, I'd have to think. These guys have not played in a while. I want a guy who is one of the better rebounders in the game due to his 7'8" wingspan or whatever that is that he has. Gobert can rebound the basketball. I expect him to tally up good rebounds today, and all of his shots come right next to the basket, which are harder to miss.
Man, you made this point yesterday on the overlay video, and I was like wanting to argue with you because it was Kawhi versus Gobert. I know what else is new, right? But I literally had nothing. I mean, I got nothing. I agree with you 100% here. Like, Gobert should clean up tonight. It's not impossible that these guys come out hot scoring because they're NBA players. So, like, all it takes is for a couple of them to be feeling good, and there you have it. But I agree with you. They also have to worry about defenders now. I expect it to be kind of a sloppy game, and that really fits Gobert's game to a T.
Absolutely. And again, you don't think like he's a little extra motivated today? I mean, there are some guys who will probably coast today. It's kind of like a warm-up type of session, and I can't fault anybody for doing that.
I think that's a big part of DFS, and you kind of touched on it at the beginning. We don't know these guys. We don't know who's going to coast. We don't know who's really mentally there or who's physically there. That's something you just got to watch and kind of see for yourself.
But would you agree he's probably as motivated as anybody today? Because this has probably been weighing on him for months. There's all the little rift between him and Mitchell since he basically gave Donovan Mitchell, the COVID issue, and he had to deal with it. I'd be a little bit annoyed too, dude. Like, you don't got to be touching me every 5 seconds just to prove something's not real. And now I have to go to the doctor and deal with this crap because of you. There's a little rift between them. I think he goes out today and plays real hard.
I see that. For me, this is a one time where, like, I guess you care more about the nerve than I do. I don't not like him because of that. I just don't care that much. I love your missed shots point. That's what I like.
And he's cheap too. Like, for who he is, this is a guy that averages 40 and he's only 7,100 today.
Yeah, exactly. So very affordable. And an interesting game all around, this Utah-New Orleans game.
Yeah, I'm a little excited for basketball to be back. It feels weird, like you said, just because we're not used to it. We got this long break.
It's in the bubble.
Yeah, you don't know what to expect out of people. There's no fans. And honestly, like, the baseball thing with no fans, it hasn't made that big of a deal to me. I hardly notice it.
Well, I know that you haven't been watching too much, but if I've been watching a bunch when I can. They have, like, the cardboard in the stands. It looks like real people almost. Besides that, they've got the noises. I think baseball's doing a very good job.
Look, man, I've watched enough Marlins and Rays games in my life to know this isn't much different than when you're watching over there. I'm trying to forget who was the baseball player that was quoted as saying, what do you think it's going to be like playing for no fans? Yeah. He's like, I played for the Marlins and the Rays, so I'm totally used to this. Do you remember who it was?
It might have been Dickerson for the Marlins because he played for the Rays. I'm not sure. I'm not positive. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't hit me watching baseball. NBA, I feel like in an empty gym is going to look a little different with no crowd noise. I mean, we'll see. It feel more normal than I expect. I'm just, curious to see what it looks like.
I'm 100% with you. I'm like anticipating this weird feeling. It's a very bizarre feeling I have right now. No joke.
Do you think that for teams like the Clippers, Lakers, and Bucks who had home court advantage, do you feel like this is something that could potentially hinder them? They played so hard in the regular season. They deserve that extra game at home, and now they're not getting it. Or do you think that's really, much ado about nothing? If you're better, you should just be better.
I think that it could affect them, but hopefully it's much to do about nothing. I think that it's to be determined. I'm interested in all these sports. Baseball, I was hearing them talk last night about how, there's 8 teams from each division that are going to make the playoffs in baseball this year. And the team that's in first plays the team that's in 8th, et cetera. And the only advantage that the team in first has is that they're at home. But with no fans, et cetera, it's difficult when you think about it because if the bad team has 2 really good pitchers, they can easily beat when I say bad team, I mean the lower team in the playoffs. So they were proposing, and I've heard people talk about this. This is really interesting. If the higher seeded team wins the first game in the series, it's over. But if like the lower seeded team wins the first game, the series goes on. So you know what I mean? So it's a real advantage to be the higher seeded team.
Sure.
Maybe that's too much. But again, in all sports this year, especially baseball and basketball, because football we don't know yet, it's just going to be weird. It's going to be different. We don't know. It's nerve-wracking. It's exciting. I don't know how to feel.
Well, you mentioned like for baseball that like you like the runner on second and extra innings because, for us, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this. And, I mentioned this yesterday. If I'm not a guy who goes to bed super early, but if the Brewers are playing, a home game and it starts at 7:10 Central and it goes to 10 o'clock and then they go to extra innings, there's a lot of nights where I'm like, I'm just going to bow out because I don't know how long this is going to be. And it could be really boring. When they start swinging for home runs and you got 5 innings with no base runners, it's just, I love baseball more than the average folk, but come on, that's not the most entertaining of sports.
Extra inning baseball is some of the hardest baseball to watch because of what you just said. All these guys get so home run heavy. There's hardly anyone on base. It's all about strikeouts. And then finally in the 16th, you'll get a solo home run. And it's like 1 a.m. You know what I mean? I'm 100% with you. So while I think it's different, and I understand people who, it never used to be like this. Well, like you always say, just because it never used to be like this doesn't mean it's, wrong to change now.
Right. We talked about some different ideas with football, and I think I mentioned something that was not dissimilar from college football, but a little different. Like you get 5 plays from the 5-yard line, and then the next team gets 5 plays from the 5-yard line, see who scores more. If you tie, then it moves to sudden death or something like that. Like that could be really entertaining.
The other thing for baseball too, and not so much for football and basketball, like they need to stop catering to like the 70-year-old white men. If they want the game to grow and for the younger generation to be more involved, they need to do stuff like this because it makes it more exciting. It's less pure, but it's much, much more exciting.
And then right now we talk about this, and you said stop catering to 70-year-old white men in baseball because those are the only, and again, I'm a white guy, but those are the only guys who get pissed off at like bat flips,
right?
And like, I can't believe he showed him up. I want to have fun when I'm watching baseball. Show him up, bat flip. Let's have some arguments. I like brawls. I like when people are getting chippy with one another. Let's add a little action. Yes.
I want to care. That's like literally, even if my team loses, but I know that they care like just as much as I do. At the end of the day, you can't ask for anything more than that.
Yeah. All right. We got off topic a little bit, but that was a fun conversation. We'll probably carry this one on a little bit later, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll come out with MLB a little bit later, and we got plenty to talk about a lot the next few days, and it's going to be a busy month. So if you want the write-ups, so you don't have to watch all these videos, go get a membership.
Let's get it, guys.